along to another BMW DIY E39 M5 How-To guide, and today we're going to be changing our engine mounts. Now, changing engine mounts on any car can be a bit of a pain in the arse, but on the 5 Series and 7 Series BMWs it is relatively straightforward. So, the reason we're changing them on the track car is the ones we've got on, Lemforder ones, absolutely perfectly fine, superb for road use, but I want something a little bit stiffer for track use to prevent any excessive movement of the engine. And we've got some Billet aluminium engine mounts with urethane bushings on them, which we're going to fit. It's not a difficult job. Need to raise the car up in the air, and that's the first thing we're going to do using our new 2-post lift. But if you're not got a 2-post lift, then raise it up and support the car with axle stands, then remove the engine tray from under the front of the car. Once you've got the car up in the air, removing the under tray is relatively straightforward. Using a positive drive screwdriver, there are some quarter turn twist fittings located at various places. Remove them, then the under tray drops down from towards the rear of the car and slides out from where the front bumper is. Once you've got the engine under tray off, the engine mounts are very easy to see on either side of the engine on the subframe, and removal is very simple. Unbolt the top of the engine mount from the mounting arm which goes up to the engine using a 17mm socket. Then underneath we've got 2 mounts holding the engine mount itself to the subframe, and they are a 13mm socket. Do that for each side. Then we will need to lower the car slightly so we can raise the engine on the sump to allow clearance so we can slide out the old engine mounts. If you've got strut brace fitted like we have, you're going to have to remove it as well to allow the engine to be raised up ever so slightly, as we need to have a clearance for the engine to move up so we can remove the engine mounts from below. To get at the top engine mounting nuts, we use a 17mm socket on a long extension bar, and as you can see right down in the depths there is the nut that we're going for. Spin them both off on each side. Then we'll go underneath and remove the 13mm nuts from the lower side of it. Once you've unbolted the engine mounts, lower your vehicle down slightly if you're on a lift, or if you're working on axle stands. Use your trolley jack to support the engine with a block of timber between your trolley jack pad and the sump. This allows the weight to be spread across the entire rear face of the sump into the timber, then onto the trolley jack, as if you go straight on the trolley jack there's a risk of puncturing the sump. Raise the engine until you can wiggle out the engine mounts clear of the subframe. Once you've removed your old engine mounts, then you can install your new ones. If you're replacing like for like engine mounts, then it's simply a case of swapping them over. If you're going for something a bit different and slightly uprated ones, then you'll need to fit them almost in the same way, except they're in multiple pieces, and once fitted you need to torque up the through bolt to ensure that it is all tightened down to the correct specification. If you're fitting uprated engine mounts, then there's a small tab on the subframe that you'll need to bend down out of the way, as that is for locating the original engine mount to stop it spinning slightly when you tighten the nuts and bolts up. Once you've got your new engine mounts in place, then we can lower the engine back down and allow them to seat on the mounts correctly. Then once that's done, we can fit the securing nuts and bolts, or if it's a uprated mount, then fit the lower bushing and tighten up the lower bushing securing through bolt as well. If you're fitting the aftermarket engine mounts, ensure that the mounting arm is seated correctly on top of the rubber mount for the mating pad, as if it's sat off ever so slightly, there's a risk of causing damage to either the mount itself or excessive strain on the engine arm, which will cause it to fracture and ultimately break, leaving you either stranded or, worst case scenario, causing severe damage to your engine as it drops down and contacts the various components around the engine bay. Once you've done both sides and torqued all the nuts correctly to the specification required, the central through bolt needs to be 35 pound-foot, then has a locking nut on the bottom of it as well, and the M13 bolts which secure the mounts to the chassis, they need to be 15 pounds-foot with locking nuts. Then the nuts which secure the mounting arms to the top of the engine mount itself, that needs to be 25 pounds-foot with locking nuts or serrated washers with other normal nuts as well. Once you've finished underneath the car, reinstall your under tray, then ensure that everything at the top of the car's all okay. Refit your strut brace if you've got one, then start your car up and check for any undue vibration and any noise. Take it out for a drive. Once you've done around about 50 miles, check the nuts on the engine mounts to make sure that they're all torqued up to spec still. If you find any undue vibration, then jack the car up, slacken the engine mounts off, lift the engine up and reseat the engine, then tighten everything back down, and that should cure it. Hopefully this video has been of some use for you. The engine mounts is something which we are looking at producing in the future, once we've got a manufacturer on board, and at that point we'll be publishing the information on the various BMW forums and Facebook pages. So keep in touch on this channel, give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe for future updates, and thank you for watching.